Xander Hall, live coverage of Ukraine invasion. What the f? Xander Hall, invasion. Xander Hall, the drama streamer. What's next? Is fucking Keemstar gonna stream about the Ukraine invasion? Fucking Vorsh like making 1,000 videos. Like these people are just like reading the news to you off Twitter like 5 hours later, and they have no possible insight or analysis to offer. It's just like complete fucking morons with no idea what's going on, who think they like can analyze a fucking military invasion where shit is completely unclear. Unfucking believable. Like the level of opportunism going on here is off the charts. These people are just like essentially trying to profit off this war. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just talking about it because they think it's an easy way to get views, because it gets engagement. It's like war profiteering. Jesus. And like Vorsh literally posted straight up fucking propaganda. Russian mom receives heartbreaking last text from her soldier son. Literally just like made up bullshit off Russian 4chan. Just self-evidently fake. Like these stories, these propaganda stories that come out are not only just obviously bullshit, but most of them are debunked like literally 2 days later. But these people are just farming money off this shit.
Communism is based.
You can, get lots of stream viewers and upload lots of clips and make lots of cash money. Like make your audience bigger. That's why they're doing it. It's so fucking ludicrous. I could do this myself too, right? But I don't want to. I mean, what the fuck could I possibly offer in like live coverage of a war? I'd just like be reading the news to you and like telling you whatever comes to mind. I mean, I'd certainly do it a lot better than these people are doing, but it's still not even remotely worthwhile to do. I'm not fucking gonna provide live coverage of a war. You want live coverage of a war? I don't know. Go read the fucking news or something. That's what these people are doing. They're reading the news to you, except doing so incredibly uncritically and spinning it even further than it's already spun. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't want to fucking talk about this shit because I can't provide you with any real information unless you're some fucking moron who doesn't know how to read the news and who doesn't know how to critically analyze any sources at all. I don't know, like, who are the people who watch this? Who are the people who watch Vorsh or Xander Hall covering a war and think it's insightful? Who are these people? How are you dumber than them? It boggles the mind. Like, you watch them, you're literally going to get worse information and worse analysis than you would get if you just read the fucking news or looked at Twitter without it being filtered through them. It's such a joke. So yeah, I'm not going to fucking cover every single little thing that's happening in this war, every single little step of the way, because I don't fucking know what's happening. Neither do you. Shit is getting debunked every 2 seconds. Nor can I provide anything more than speculation based on the information being provided largely in the mainstream media and by random people on Twitter, which may or may not be true. These people don't have any sort of filters, though. It's completely shameless. And of course, the only reason they care about this is because against what has become a Western ally in the last 7 to 8 years. And they're also white. That's another thing. None of these people have ever covered the ongoing war in Yemen, in which just as many people are dying as in the war in Ukraine right now. And the reason for that is simple. The victims aren't white. It's a war that's supported by Western imperialist countries. That's literally it. The less it's talked about, the better for them. It also doesn't sell nearly as much, because they're not white. Talk about the war in Ukraine? Well, their audience already hates Russia. Russophobia in general, not just hatred of Putin, but, the idea that Russia is like some sort of evil communist Asiatic horde nation is rampant in the Western world, in the USA in particular. Especially among liberal Americans who also think that Russia won Donald Trump the election. So it sells, right? It sells to a very wide audience. You talk about Russia doing bad things, how evil they are, to people who are considered, at least by these people, to be more white than like Russians are. You get your fucking views in there. It supports their predetermined, at least they think it supports their predetermined beliefs that the USA is like fundamentally good and Russia is fundamentally evil. So that shit sells. You know what doesn't sell? The USA giving weapons to Saudi Arabia, helping them bomb the fucking shit out of Yemen, with 500,000 people being dead or having been killed there over the last 7 to 8 years. Honestly, possibly even more. Of course, the war in Ukraine is a fucking aberration. But the fact that it gets so much attention to such an absurd degree, and you have fucking internet streamers covering it 24/7 as if they know shit. And there's obviously a reason behind that. You know, it's obviously not just these streamers either. You look at like the shit going down, like the massive sanctions on Russia. I just saw like random fucking supermarkets taking Russian products off the shelves. The SWIFT sanction, which is incredibly harsh. I believe it's only ever been done once in history before to Iran. Absolutely fucking disastrous. Great way to destroy an economy with shit like that. And it is happening. Russian people are already feeling the pain of this, and it's only going to get worse and worse. Innocent Russian people being punished for the actions of their government by the Western imperialist bloc. A government which, you know, Western countries say isn't democratic, so how can we possibly fucking blame random people for it doing this? Like fucking random US companies like cutting Russia off from like fucking playing FIFA online and shit. You can't use like, there was like, what was it? Like, it wasn't Blender, it was like another 3D like modeling program. If you're from Russia, you can't use it anymore. Removing the Russian national team from FIFA and the Russian domestic clubs from FIFA. Everyone's like, oh yeah, fuck Russia. Like, just straight up Russophobia. Like, not as in against Russia, the state, but as in against Russia as like a nation of people, an ethnic group. And of course, they would never even remotely think about doing something like that to the USA or Saudi Arabia or anything like that. I guarantee you fucking Saudi Arabia is still in FIFA. What matters here is what geopolitical bloc you're aligned to and what race you're perceived as. That's why we've had a bunch of like fucking reporters on CNN and shit being like, with all due respect, this is a war in a civilized country. Bitch, fucking hell, Ukraine is poorer than Guatemala. The average Ukrainian living standard is the same as Peru, at least according to the HDI rankings, which, you know, they're not perfect, but they're better than most other measures of living standards that are out there. Ukraine's a poor country, incredibly poor. It's poor because of neoliberal imperialism from the Western bloc, by the way. Not that that justifies this war even remotely. Obviously, Putin doesn't give a fucking shit about the living standards of Ukrainians. He just wants to like annex the fucking country or install a puppet government or whatever. But the point is, the way that Ukraine is perceived doesn't really have much of a bearing on reality, but that doesn't really matter because it's perceived as a Western ally, an ally of the Western imperialist bloc, or at least a protectorate of the Western imperialist bloc, against the so-called Eastern imperialist bloc. That's all that this is. And its population are imagined as like white civilized people. So we're supposed to care about them more. That's why these people factually care about them more. That's why they've literally never mentioned Yemen. And obviously, like, I don't want to have to performatively denounce this every 2 seconds because I've already made clear my stance on the Russian invasion. But Russia is a regional imperialist power, and its invasion of Ukraine is incredibly illegitimate, regardless of whatever bullshit justification it comes up with. That doesn't mean that, like, the US imperial opposition to that for purely imperial reasons, nothing more, nothing less. They do the same exact thing, honestly, the same thing but worse all over the fucking world. And we're supposed to believe they give a shit. Give me a fucking break. Russia also doesn't have the economic power that the US does. As you can see, as with what like the US, the EU, etc. are doing to Russia right now. Russia could never do that. Not even close. So we're not talking about equal levels of power here at all. Still doesn't legitimize the Russian invasion. But the reason why people care about this is because it gives them like this idea they can pretend that the Western bloc is in the right for once, and they're jumping right on it. It's not like, oh, you know, I wouldn't have supported Iraq. Yeah, they would have, by the way. All of these like 20-year-olds who are pretending that they wouldn't have supported the war in Iraq with the way they think, they absolutely fucking would have. It's about making money. It's about something that seems convenient to legitimize the Western geopolitical bloc, to the imperialist geopolitical bloc to these people. It just reveals that they have the capacity to care about war and suffering, but they reserve it. And that honestly just makes it worse. Like, if they weren't talking about this, you know, fair enough, then it would just be clear that they just don't fucking give a shit. But it's clear now that they have the, at least performative capacity to care about these things, but they just don't. Most of the time, they just don't. The war in Yemen is not something in the past. It's been ongoing for 8 fucking years. Imagine if Russia's war in Ukraine was ongoing for 8 fucking years. That's basically the status of Yemen. 500,000 fucking people killed, man. Imagine this war, but for 8 fucking years non-stop. That's Yemen. Have you talked about it? No. It's still going on right now. Are they going to talk about it? Of course not. Oh, fucking course not. It's inconvenient for them because that bloc, that geopolitical bloc, the Western geopolitical bloc, supports the Saudi Arabian government. They give it arms. They help it out with logistics. In certain cases, they have also literally directly bombed Yemen. You know, we don't talk about that, though. It's not important. It doesn't matter. They're not civilized, as these people would say. It's just fucking clown world. Everything about this reveals so much about media bias, about the bias of liberals, you know, about the fucking joke that is political streaming. Like, honestly, if you think that someone like Vorsh or Xander or even Hassan, who I probably agree with on this mostly, has any sort of insight to offer you, you've got to be really fucking dumb, man. You have to, like, imagine getting your news filtered through fucking Vorsh or Xander on a war. Like, it's one thing to be against the war, to be against Russian imperialism, which I very much am. Putin is a massive piece of shit. It's another thing to just straight up deep throat, like the Western Bloc, and be like, sanctions now. You know what would be good? If we put fucking sanctions on Russia. You know what would be good? If Joseph Biden sends in the fucking troops to Ukraine and starts World War III. Fighting with the Western capitalist bloc and their way of dealing with this crisis, which is not actually a way of them dealing with anything. The point of them being involved here is for them to gain geopolitical power in the region from Russia, which they're achieving with flying fucking colors through causing the massive suffering of the Russian people. Russia is going to be fucking geopolitically ruined after this, regardless if they manage to actually occupy Ukraine or not. Like, the way that they look at this is like, I've already been over this before. Like, I preempted this sort of mentality even before this crisis even began. I talk about this plenty of times. Like, they're like, we need to analyze imperialism on a case-by-case basis. You know, sometimes the West does good things, so it's all harm reduction. Like, it's not part of a wider imperialist system. Every little bit of power that the Western Bloc gains is then utilized to destroy any chance of building socialism anywhere in the world. That's what they do. Like, it wouldn't bother me if they would just admit that they were liberals. That's what they are, obviously. Their politics are liberal. They're liberals who want, like,
communism
free
is
healthcare.
based.
The liberals who want free healthcare, and aside from that, you know, they support the U.S. empire and its Western Bloc allies in every single little thing that they do. I don't really understand how they could possibly believe they're on the left. It's like, oh, I think trans people are people, and I want free healthcare, and apart from that, I support my country in basically every imperialist venture that it undertakes. And I try to downplay. If you
don't trust the CIA, then who do you trust?
And I try to downplay its imperialism as much as possible, and that somehow means that I am a leftist now. Like, I just can't believe, like, the combination of the complete everything here. Like, you have a bunch of people who aren't even remotely on the left. They aren't anarchists. They aren't communists. They aren't socialists, framing themselves as like socialist supporters of Western imperialism. The only solution they seem to be able to imagine is Western imperialism swooping in to solve problems. So if you don't support Western imperialism, you apparently de facto support Vladimir Putin. That's the way they think. It's exactly how the Iraq war was framed too. What, you don't want us to invade Iraq? You don't want us to cause immense suffering for the Iraqi people? What are you? A Saddam supporter? What, you don't want us to sanction innocent Russians who you yourself constantly say have no influence over their government? What are you, some sort of Putin supporter? But yeah, like, all of that just combined with the pure ridiculousness of these people. Like, even if they want just like US imperialist liberals, the fact that they're like providing 24/7 coverage of a war that they have no insight to offer on at all. Like, they're just like bringing up the news and being like, check out this news article, everyone. This news article that is literally on the frickin' front page of like CNN that everyone could see in like 2 seconds. Like, it's mainstream shit. I'm just gonna read this news article to you and tell you this is bad and frame it in an even more like spinny way than it was already framed by them. Getting your like news on a war from Xander Hall and Vorsh. What the fuck? Unreal. I mean, I'm looking at fucking CNN too. I'm looking at a ton of different sources, but I'm not gonna fucking tell you what to think about them because I don't even know what to think. There's so much contradictory shit going on. The only thing that seems to be clear is that Russia is advancing, though slower than they seem to have thought they would. And they definitely seem to be intentionally targeting civilians in Kharkiv. And they seem to have single intent to do so in Kiev as well. That's all that I know. I mean, I wouldn't say Ukraine is getting defeated at all. Not yet, at least. They might be, probably. But their strategy has been to hold the cities. They're not really contesting like the actual advance. They're just like waiting in cities, and doesn't seem to be working very well so far. I think Kiev is going to be fucking terrible, but I can't tell you much more than that. But Xander Hall and Vorsh sure seem to think they can. The world's a fucking joke. Guys, check out Xander Hall's live stream.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
fan Discord, all of that. And of course, if you want to support me financially, as this is still my full-time
Oh my God!
job, and
I click on
I don't
it.
want to stream to you guys from the inside of a cardboard box, naked in the desert.
I
covered in
click on
lizards.
it, and he's
Feel free to
immediately
donate.
using the wall
You
to
can either
beg for
donate
money
to
and subs.
a cause like the Ukrainian military, or you can donate to me if you want to support me. It's up to you.
Wow!
I'll leave the option on the table,
Donate
but
to
you
a
can,
fucking military. Donate to a military or donate to me. Holy shit,
donate
I
through
couldn't have clicked on this
Streamlabs,
stream at a better
or,
time.
through YouTube and...
Well, while you're all here to listen to me, as I provide you with absolutely fucking worthless coverage of a war that I am completely out of my depth in talking about, why don't you give me some cash money while you're all here? Give me that cash money now. Unbelievable.